All right. The man that needs absolutely no introduction, Paul Green. You can introduce yourself if you'd like to, but I'm thrilled to have you on this podcast today. The newly named Get More MSP Leads podcast, formerly No Growth Scale. I did a little research. We have a lot of alignment in our thought patterns, but I'm hoping today maybe we can, just hash out some things that we're both talking about and see what sticks. Paul, thank you for joining the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me on. A brand new name for the podcast, which is really cool.
You're on the first season of the podcast. So
how amazing. And in preparation, I went back and watched some of your previous episodes as well. So
thank
I
you.
I absolutely love your presenting style and the content you've got. Really cool.
Thank you so much. We're
Thank you.
actually this week kind of in the middle of transitioning the brand. I started in B2B tech and then have transitioned into, hey, this is what I know and what I do. So I'm really excited about leaning in and really thinking about MSPs all day, every day.
Exactly. And therein is marketing lesson number one is don't be afraid to change your positioning. Don't be afraid to follow the
100%.
market. And especially as the AI tools are getting better and better, and it's making it easy. Like you said, you and I are aligned. And I know the secret of how you did that. You asked Claude. You asked Claude to analyze my stuff and your stuff. And it said, oh, these are the areas you align. And like, why wouldn't you do that these days? So I think that in itself is a really smart lesson of don't be afraid to pivot and change and or tweak. Because I know this isn't a massive 100%. Pivot for you. It's a tweak in your positioning.
100%. And I did not ask Claude to tell me anything that we were not aligned on because I didn't care to know that. But sometimes we do like to turn a blind eye on what we ask our AI
exactly.
tools. So I did, you sparked my interest years ago, and I did call you an influencer in the MSP space because you very much are one. Whether you want to consider yourself an influencer or not, you influence people, a lot of people. I have noticed you because there are a lot of things that obviously pass our way as we're scrolling. Pretty much everything I've ever stopped and listened to you say has been 100% dead on. I know that your experience in the space, has a lot to do with that and your understanding of the folks that you're working with. You have a great following and a great, product. But we have been talking, both of us have been talking about this foundation problem. And in fact, the little leaf in my logo, big, long story about that, but has a lot to do with what I call is under the soil. So I believe something has shifted in the last year to 2 years, and the bar for what we're doing foundationally in MSP businesses as owners, founders, marketers has changed. But I want to hear what you think. What do you see today that MSPs might be missing that maybe would have been acceptable 24 months ago, let's say?
Yeah. Have we got 3 hours to talk about this?
Right.
That's a big question.
It is your dinner time, so maybe not.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. So I've been working directly with MSPs for 9 years, since 2016. Before that, I did 10 years working with other businesses like veterinarians, dentists, opticians.
Right.
And then 10 years before that, I was a radio presenter. So I love working with MSPs. I love the channel. I love how MSPs don't realize how difficult their life is. So if you compare an MSP to a dentist, so an MSP expects everything to change every couple of years, whereas a dentist will expect a slightly better drill, right? But ultimately the work is the same. So I think, first of all, just to give MSPs some kudos, you guys, it's really hard on yourselves and you don't realize how difficult your job is. So 3 years ago, AI was not a conversation anyone was having. And now MSPs are being expected to consult on it, advise, implement it, guardrail it. Oh, but hang on, it just leaked all my data. It's ChatGPT when one of my users was using ChatGPT in their car on their business phone. And it's and no one thought of that 3 years ago. So I love working with MSPs. I love this amount of change, but you're right. There has been a fundamental change. And it's really interesting. You talk about the foundations, and I love your soil analogy. I'm going to make up a figure, but let's go with what I'm saying here. Okay. 80% of MSPs don't have roots in the soil from a marketing point of view, right? So from a tech point of view, they do. They've got a great PSA, they've got a great RMM, they've got a great tech stack. Every day they're moving from one to another. They're going to this vendor or that distributor or whatever they're doing.
Right.
And so from a tech point of view, they're solid. Most MSPs are solid.
Right.
From a marketing point of view, those solid MSPs are like a house sitting on soil that's waiting for the tornado to come along and shift the house. And guess what? The tornado is coming along and the houses are all kind of shifting. And we're seeing this right now that with things like AEO, answer engine optimization, which is kind of named after SEO, search engine optimization.
Yeah.
But basically, normal humans going into Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, although predominantly it's consumers using this on the consumer AIs, they're not using Copilot for this, and they're using it like they used to use Google, because once they figure out hang on a second, all I've got to do is have a chat with something here, and it does all the hard work for me. There's like a light bulb goes on in their mind, and then they go to work, and they're the executive assistant of someone who's got a 30-user business, who sits there and goes, "Oh, my IT company's driving me crazy," and I go, "Well, do you want me to just have a look and see who else is out there?" So they go into Gemini and they say, "Hey, so we're an architects and we design this and we've got 50 staff and we do this and blah 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 blah. We're fed up with our IT company because of this, 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 and this. Who do you recommend?" And here's the thing: Gemini will give a different answer to Chat, will give a different answer to Claude, will give a different answer to Copilot, to all of the other AIs that we're not talking about. And this is the new reality. And obviously, all of marketing is not just about AI, but this is what they're doing today. Whereas 3 years ago, it was 100% Google, and Bing was a copy of Google, probably still is a copy of Google. And I know someone will be upset for me saying that, but that's fine.
A much uglier stepsister, I would say, but
Yes, yeah, exactly that. But it's similar, very similar results, right? But it's shifting, and obviously Google's a bit behind, and now it's shoving Gemini results into search results, trying to catch up. And actually, they are doing a good job of catching up, and blah blah blah. But the point is, all of this is just today's thing. There's something else coming. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. But the pace at which, just as we're recording this, Claude just released a thing about artifacts. I think it's called artifacts.
And design, which my team is very
design.
Yep.
Exactly. There's so much. Like, Claude is releasing new stuff at a pace at which ChatGPT was releasing stuff last year. And give it a few months, and Perplexity or someone else will come along, or Copilot or whatever. It's just today's tactics, today's thing. Here's the thing: the businesses that are doing really well, the MSPs that are doing really well, they've got the foundations. They've got the concrete pile drives in the ground. They know their ideal client profile, their ICP. So they know exactly who they want to work with. And an ideal client profile is not, we want businesses with 20 users. That's not an ideal client profile. That's just a wish list, right? An ideal client profile is about behaviors. Like, how does this client treat its technology? What kind of maturity do they have? What's their attitude towards paying their bills? Are they looking for a strategic partner or someone cheap just to fix their computers? And we all know there's a profit difference between those two things. The solid MSPs know their ICP. They've got it written down. They gauge all of their marketing and their sales activity through that ICP. There's things called, I'm going to do a slight bit of jargon. You know this, but not everyone listening or watching this will know this. There's things called MQLs and
MSPs use it, so we can use it too, right?
I know they do. I know. You learn it, don't you? And it's like, I just nod now. I just have a really good poker face when I hear a technical term.
That's right.
MQLs and SQLs, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads. So a marketing qualified lead is when someone's in your database, they're in your CRM. You could even go as far, I like to think of them connected on LinkedIn. You can have thousands and thousands of marketing qualified leads, and then SQL, sales qualified leads. You only really have either of those two if they fit with your ICP, right? So it's a fundamental basic thing. Most 80% of MSPs don't do it. MSP, unique selling proposition. What makes you the MSP of choice to your ideal client? And again, most MSPs have never, ever, ever worked this out. So they look exactly the same. Sorry,
I love it. No, I just want to add to that. If you're an MSP and you think that your unique selling proposition is your customer support, find another one.
Yeah, well, customer support, being proactive, reactive partner.
You keep a customer that way. You can't get one that way.
Exactly. The things that make you different. And we're talking about ordinary business owners or managers, not co-managed, which is a whole different type of marketing.
Right.
But for the average business owner or manager, they hit that point of like, right, it's time to look. There's 20 MSPs in the market. Well, 18 of them all seem to say the same things. Their websites are the same. So there's actually only really 3 to choose from. There's these 18, and there's this one that's different, and this one that's different. So, and those two that are different, 20%, they've got their ideal client profile right. They've got their unique selling proposition right. And then they've gone and put other foundations in place. Their website reflects those two things. Their LinkedIn reflects those two things. They're doing marketing every single day. They've got systems and processes and all of these things in place. And I'm getting a bit ranty about this because I get so passionate about it. Because these are, as you say, these are the well, no, we could talk about this for hours. These are the foundations. Winning in the AI age is exactly the same as winning back in 1999, right? When this thing called Google first came out, or 98 or whenever it was, and they introduced ads. And guess what? all of the things I've just talked about were exactly the same back then.
Mhm.
So we've always got to look past the what's today tactic thing, because
Right.
in 5 years it'll be a little thing that connects to your ear that talks to you through your skull, that's your
100.
personal AI that does all
Right.
of that, but
With
that's
the
just
Meta
the
glasses
latest
now.
iteration.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, the meta or the contact lenses. Let's be
Right.
honest, we all want the contact lenses
Right.
and the like the keyboard and stuff like that, but the
Different.
foundations never change. And the big opportunity for MSPs, the huge opportunity for MSPs, is getting the foundations right, because
Yeah.
none of your competitors have got it right.
That's so true. And like I mentioned, you presented last week to a group about how we make assumptions about our buyer, and the more that we assume, and tell me if you agree on this, as a managed services provider business, I'm seeing when I meet with prospects, people come to me and their entire maybe decade long marketing strategy since they started the business has been built entirely around the assumption that someone is ready to make a purchase. And because it's not fun building that foundation for the people that might just be doing research. But what you just mentioned on LLMs of choice, whatever that is, when I go to Google, I type in red shirt when I'm looking for a red shirt. That's not the same thing that I would type in an LLM, but a lot of us out there, a lot of MSPs still have businesses built around keywords or,
Mm.
one or two phrases, and the buyer has changed, the buyer's informed. And like you said, knowing who your buyer is, I said this on stage, and I think I maybe hurt a few feelings last week in Vegas, but I said, if your ICP is Pam, the office manager, is bubbling up the recommendation to the CEO that's going to sign the check, Pam calls them phones, not VoIP.
Mm.
And I saw
Mm.
a lot of eyes get
Yeah.
big. But that's the kind of obsession that we need to have when it comes to foundation. Do you agree? Like
Oh, 100%.
understanding
And in
who that
fact,
is.
yeah, Alex Hormozy, who is a genius, and
Yes.
every
Right.
MSP on the planet should read his 3 books
Right.
and subscribe to his email and his YouTube, because
Yep.
he looks strange, but the man has the best marketing and business brain of any human on the planet right now.
Yep.
And he sent out an email, it was either today or last week, saying exactly this, that in our AI age, you've got to have, even if you've got a very clear and narrow ICP, within that ICP, there are 10 different types of people. There's
Right.
Pam, who talks about phones. Then
Right.
there's Pam's colleague who might call them VoIP because they're a bit more technical. Then there's the
Right.
20-year-old who only joined the company last year, who
Right.
actually, is vibe coding at home and
Right.
influences Pam because he
Right.
talks to Pam over coffee.
Right.
And you've got to produce content and build relationships with all of those people, which is,
Yeah.
to be fair to an MSP, that's very hard
Very
for
hard.
any business to do. And
Yes.
obviously Hormozy has like 1 million staff, and
Right.
he's a content machine and
Right.
whatsoever. But even
Right.
if you take that one step further and just say, I mean, I think that's the purpose. And I'm going to swipe your example there, Laura.
Yeah.
So thank you very
Yeah.
much. I'm going to steal
Love
yours
it. Please.
forever.
Yeah.
Just even the word VoIP, even though, I mean, I remember VoIP phones. Do you remember 24 with Jack Bauer? Right,
Yeah.
they were VoIP
Yes.
phones, and they were like Cisco VoIP phones that make
Yep.
that do
Yep.
noise, right? And that was the
Yep.
first time I saw
That's
a VoIP
product
phone.
placement.
That was like
Right.
2002, yeah.
Right.
But even now, 2026, the vast majority of people don't say VoIP me, right? No
Right.
one says VoIP me.
Right.
I'm going to get some new VoIP phones. They're just phones. It just so
Right.
happens that it comes across the internet rather than down that copper cable or whatsoever.
Right.
And using jargon is one of the quickest ways that MSPs kill sales,
Yep.
because there's so many MSPs out there. There's so much choice. You don't even have to pick an MSP in your town anymore, because we can all support everyone everywhere.
Right.
So almost like your mission, and this is part of the thing that most 80% of MSPs don't do. Your mission is to go through every tiny part of your marketing and strip out anything which might introduce any kind of friction. Jargon, appearing less than human, AI generated content, right?
Yep.
The worst thing you could do with
Yep.
AI is generate your content, because
Yep.
it's not human.
Yep.
Not showing the people, the personalities, not standing for something, not having opinions, not being a thought leader. All of
Yep.
these things are things that MSPs need to do. And
Right.
the MSPs that nail it in every market, and by nail it, I mean they're just consistently bringing in the leads, they're consistently getting the discovery calls, the meetings.
Right.
It's just because they've ticked all of these things off, which is a
Right.
long, slow process. But once you've done it, you have a moat, and no one else can really touch you, because they're not
Right.
going to do the work.
That's right. That's right. Okay, if we were to say today, let's say the one takeaway from today is
Hmm.
the checklist. What is your foundation checklist? If Paul Green is here and you're listening, and we're going to say, okay, Paul, I understand. I feel like you're exactly right. I need to re-look at my foundation. And let me insert this really quick. The whole reason I leave is on my when I was at home after I think about 3 weeks with a newborn baby, my first child. My mom, who is she loves flowers. I can't keep anything alive other than my children. They're good, but aside from that, we're not growing anything other than kids at my house. But she is big into planting, and she actually came over to my house and turned a house plant that was in a nice little pot that I thought was beautiful. She noticed that there were some brown spots on it that I had never seen. My attention to
Mm,
detail lacks at times. And she turned it over and took off the pot and said, "Laura, this plant is root bound." And it was killing itself because the roots were so crowded. And so
yeah.
building the and to your point, building the foundation is important. Also, you might need to rebuild it.
Mm,
You
mm,
may think you have a good foundation and actually you're root bound. You're stifling your own growth. So if you were to create a checklist, and it can be 3 things or 5 things or whatever, of, hey, if you're listening today, here are the few things that you need to audit or look at to make sure your foundation is solid. What would those be in this day and age?
yeah. Okay. Great example there, because obviously a business that in its first 5 years wants a 20 user business. When
Right.
you've got 10 technicians, you probably want a 50 user business, because it's
Right.
it's just it's just easier profit for the same amount of work.
Right.
So foundations. Let's go with the ideal client profile. So you've got to know who you want. Then
Yep.
the USP, the unique selling proposition. Those two work together. Without
Yep.
those, you are literally directionless.
Yep.
Then you've got to make sure your website and your LinkedIn align perfectly. And I don't think you guys do websites, don't you?
We do.
I believe
It's
you
part of
do.
our
So
stuff. Yep.
so yeah, so I think the vast majority of MSPs, the website is a that'll do. And actually, even in 2026, it's still your number one marketing
It is
tool,
your number one.
because it is. They do check out your LinkedIn, but there's only a certain amount you can change on LinkedIn. But
Right.
they will go out. Some people will look at almost every page of your website just
Yep.
because they're researchers. Certainly, the AI tools are looking at your website. Or
Right.
they're influenced more by what's
You
off
have a new
site than they
audience
are on
now.
site.
You have a new audience. It's called AI. So make sure
Exactly
you're
that.
yeah.
Exactly that. And the AI isn't influenced by exactly the
Right.
same things, but you
Right.
can guide it by telling it, because MSPs are not being talked about on Reddit or on other platforms, because AI prefers what's said off the website than what's
Right.
said on. But
Right.
not the challenge, the opportunity for MSPs
Mm.
is that you're not being talked about anywhere
Right.
else, unlike these big businesses. So actually, AI is going to be more influenced by what's on your website, which
Yep.
is really cool. And that
Right.
will change, but that's how things are today. So I
Yep.
think ICP, USP, website, LinkedIn, and those 4 are the core fundamentals. I'm going to add 3 more things
Okay.
in, and it's actually a 3-step marketing system that I've been teaching to MSPs for getting on for 9 years. 6 words, super simple, but this is sort of the next step on from that. So the 3 words are: build audiences, grow relationships, convert relationships. So once you've got those fundamentals in place, like your website and your targeting and all of that, then go build audiences. So once you know who you want to work, go build audiences of them. They're definitely on LinkedIn. You definitely want to get email addresses into your CRM, because
Yep.
LinkedIn is a borrowed audience. You don't
Yep.
own that.
Yep.
Microsoft can take it away from you at any
Any
point,
day.
whereas your email database, that's yours. Even if you fall out with your CRM,
Yeah.
that data is yours to take away to another CRM.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's things like, you could build a podcast. Really smart to build a podcast, especially if you're in a niche or a vertical.
Yep.
You could build a YouTube channel. Every MSP should have a YouTube channel, because every MSP should be a media company these days,
Yep.
not a technical company.
Yep.
There's even a networking group, right? If you're in like BNI or a Chamber of Commerce networking group, and there's 30 of you that meet up once a month, that's an audience. That's a more
Yep.
powerful audience than digital, because you're having breakfast and coffee and meeting and touching
Yep.
real humans in real life. So
Yep.
you build audiences. And then the long thing, the thing that goes on for years and years and years, is you build a relationship with them. And by a relationship, I mean, you said earlier that a lot of MSPs base their marketing on someone's going to turn up and they're ready to buy.
Right.
No, most of them don't want to buy. They don't want to switch. It's a
Right.
business owner, right? Even if they
It's a
hate
headache.
their MSP, they just don't want to switch, because they don't
Right.
understand technology, but they understand you're new. If you get it wrong, they're dead. They're dead in the
Right.
water. They get that. So they
Right.
will drag their feet out as long as possible. Your challenge is to get the right message in front of the right person at the right time. And that is almost
Course.
impossible to do from cold. So yeah, sure, someone goes into Google and types in blah, 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 and you
Mhm.
can spend upwards of getting sort of $4,000 or $5,000 to get in front of a good business at the exact moment. But for the vast majority of MSPs, SEO or paid click advertising is not the right route, because it's quite labor intensive. Even today, it's labor
Yeah.
intensive, right? You get someone else to do it
We
for
just
you.
want the
You've got
easy button, Paul. We just want the
Yeah,
easy button.
I know. I know, right? And if Laura, I don't know if you guys do pay per click, and if I would always recommend with pay per click, go to an agency like yours, go
Well,
get someone
yes.
else who do. If you do it, get
We
someone
do
else
it
to do it
under the
for you.
requirement that other previous things have been met, and that is a responsibility of us and them. So it's not just a gate that we open unless you qualify for it. So
Perfect,
in the
perfect.
same regard, we're not just going to, use your paid money on Google to tie it back
Yeah.
to a website that's never going to convert in the first place. So,
Exactly, because it's just a waste. It's just a waste of
right.
money. Exactly that. And SEO, I think, sits on top of all of the other
Yes.
marketing. So
Yes.
for most MSPs, actually, you build the relationship through content. So you post on LinkedIn once every 24 hours. You send a
Yeah.
LinkedIn newsletter once a week. You
Yeah.
send an email newsletter once a week. You
Yeah.
put a new blog and a new video on your website and on your YouTube once a week. And
Yeah.
there's a number of other things that you can do. But essentially, if you're putting out content which doesn't talk tech, doesn't talk jargon, but it's talking to business owners about the outcomes they really care about from
Yeah.
technology, which are productivity, more profit, my staff complain less. That's pretty much it, right? There's everything else is a flavor of those things. And then what happens is the morning they wake up and they're like, right, I can't take it anymore. I'm fed up with customer service has gone down. The price has gone up at my old piece thing. I'm not signing another contract. Pam, can you go and
Exactly.
find me three tech firms to work with?
She
And
has a name. It's Pam.
she has an Pam now, and she's been connected to you on LinkedIn for 3 years, and she thinks, "Oh,
Mm.
who's that so and so," and then looks you
Mhm.
up or just comes across you or whatsoever. The point is, you've got a very low level relationship. You're not a brand new cold thing she's
Right.
never heard of. It's like I've seen a few things. She might have opened a few emails, clicked on a LinkedIn message, maybe seen a bit of your content, perhaps watched half a video.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether she's consumed it or not. The point is, she goes on your website. You've produced a video a week for the last 4 years.
And answered
Right,
every
these
question.
guys are solid.
Yep.
These
Yep.
guys are solid.
Yep.
So that's the second step, which is grow relationships. The third step is convert relationships, which is all about getting someone on a discovery call.
Yes.
You and I know the MSP that gets someone on a video call, 15-minute
Uh-huh.
video call, gets the sales meeting, typically gets the client. And
Mhm.
I know there's a whole process in there, but the vast majority of owner-led sales, actually, if they can get them on a video call, and they want to work with them, they can get a sales meeting, and
Right.
7 times out of 10, they'll win the business. So for me, it's like, what do we need to do to get that person on a video call? Lots of different ways to do this. I like outbound. I like having someone making outbound phone calls on your behalf, literally phoning everyone you're connected to on LinkedIn, everyone on your email, not selling, relationship building. And
Yep.
actually what that person is doing is finding out, is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it
Yeah.
2028? Is
Yeah.
it never? And
Yeah.
that's all they're doing. And I love back to work moms for this. I love people working from home. Just nice, relaxed people who aren't scared to get on the phone and love chatting to people. And
Yep.
those people do exceptionally well. And
I love
so
that.
that's it. I think those 7 things,
Yep.
I'll quickly recap them: ICP, USP, website, LinkedIn, build audiences, grow relationships, convert relationships. Do that, you are literally untouchable. In most
Yes.
marketplaces, the only people that are going to beat you are the big MSP that's
Right.
got like 20 sales staff, but
Right.
you're never going to catch up with them. And most
Right.
MSPs don't want more than
And
one
do
new
you
client a
Right, I
month.
was gonna say, and do you wanna compete with
No,
them? Probably not.
no,
Yeah.
of course you
Yeah.
don't. No, of course you
Yep.
don't, because
I
they're
love
not.
that.
It's a different marketplace.
Yeah.
So most one new client a month or one every other month, and that's
Yep.
it. And
Yep.
actually, the MSPs I work with 700 MSPs, and the conversations we have, they say things like, if I won a client every other month, that would change my life,
Yeah.
right? The business would grow. I would take more money. I'd spend more time
Right.
with my kids. I'd have more vacations. My life would be perfect. And it's like, okay, that will do
We'll
it.
do it.
You don't
Yeah.
need to be clever. You just need to have all those foundations in place.
Right. I love that. One thing that I've made a recommendation in the last 24 hours, I think I mentioned this in an email to you. I had a meeting yesterday with someone who I call it spitball marketing. I don't know if there's a
Mm,
trademark for that, but I might go try to find it because it's just I did this for 6 months and then they come to me and marketing doesn't work. Oh,
yeah,
marketing's never worked
yeah,
for me. Marketing's never worked for me. And then I start to listen at what they've done. And it was, well, I tried this for 6 months and I tried this for 6 months. If you were listening today and you hear what he just said, he did not say do number 1 for 6 months and then number 2 for 6 months and then number 3 down to your 7. You do
yeah.
them. Now, it might take you time to build, obviously, into this multi-channel, omnipresent type approach, but the ones who can do that consistently, that's building your engine and your system, and it's not
100%.
a quick, 6-month trial of 10 different things.
Yeah. So you trademark spitball marketing. I'm going
Okay.
to trademark stop-start marketing because that's what I
Perfect,
call it.
perfect, and
Same
we'll both
thing, different
trademark
term.
Pam. Yeah.
Yeah, Pam.
I think we can get
Who
that
who
one.
can who can do it faster? I
Maybe in
suspect
the UK.
you'll probably do it faster in the US. I have been doing my podcast every week. So I have a podcast, Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast.
Yes.
Never as good as yours, but it's
Oh,
been
well,
going since
what
since since the 5th of November 2019, every
I
single
love it.
Tuesday. And that will keep going until I'm dead. In fact, when I'm dead, my team will just go back and
There's
rehash
already a
old
succession
episodes into
plan.
new
I love it.
episodes.
I love
Exactly.
it.
I've been doing my LinkedIn newsletter every Thursday
I love a
for
link.
4 years. I've been sending out an email twice a week for 9 years. I've
Yeah,
been posting on LinkedIn every day for 7 years. And I don't do these things because they're fun, right? Because after all that time, and I write all that content, so I don't do all the editing and all of that stuff, but I
right.
write all the content still. It's the real me.
Yeah,
And I'll be honest, I get to Fridays, which is my content days, and I deliberately make it Fridays because it forces me to do it to then go and enjoy the weekend.
yep,
And every Friday morning, I'm like, okay, here we go again. But do you know what? We have a constant stream of leads coming in. We have a
yep.
constant presence out there.
You're doing the
And
work.
our marketing is systemized and it's consistent and it's
Yep,
slightly boring to me, but it's not
yep,
slightly boring to the people that are reading it.
right,
And that's the goal, is where
right,
your marketing, you're constantly adding new things on top, but you never stop doing the old things, as long as they fit within that strategy.
right,
Obviously, there are
right,
things that I have stopped doing. I stopped doing Twitter when
right.
Mr. Musk bought it and it
Yeah,
went
I know.
off
I
in
never
a
did in the
random
first place.
direction, right?
Well, I'm not a big sports gal, so I'm like, I don't get it. I can't figure it out. It
Yeah.
never really worked for me, but I love that. Yeah, yeah, make sure if you're doing something that's totally irrelevant and not getting you in front of any of your buyers, that's a pro tip from Paul Green, just stop doing it.
Yeah.
I
Or
love
you switch it to something else. So I suspect
Yeah,
that what was that 5 years ago? I suspect I switched whatever I was doing on Twitter, which wasn't much anyway. I probably
right.
just moved that over to LinkedIn. And at that
Yeah,
point, it probably clarified in my head, "Do you know what? LinkedIn is my main social platform to reach the people I want to reach, which is
yeah,
MSPs."
yeah,
So I didn't stop doing something. I just like we were saying with you rebranding your podcast, I
right,
tweaked the direction.
right,
And 5 years on, I still feel no need to tweak it again. But at some point I will. LinkedIn's going to
right,
go off the boil at some point. It's
right,
bound to, and there'll be a new platform, and
right.
we'll just switch over to that new platform.
Right. Well, that is, I mean, what a great, just I would say just vision for anyone listening that's an MS. You might even be a mature MSP who has a marketing team and some systems in place and still realize there are a lot of holes. People buy from people. What I love about the AI era, we're getting a bad rap these days with what AI is doing and not doing, but I personally think that it's allowing us to do the human things better and to be more human for our customers, which is important for you as an MSP to do. And Paul has given you all the things you need to be successful in that. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
I enjoyed being on your podcast, and I thank you for returning the favor and being on mine. I hope to see you at an event. I'm sure we will run into each other at some point this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.